It's been said the whole world is a stage and everybody plays a part. But the question remains, who's writing the script?
I've been in this place for 30 years. Think about that for a minute. I've been an 8 by 10 cell for almost 30 years. What I use, what I call delve off into my subconscious. I lay down at night and then I just think about what I'm gonna do and what type of art I'm gonna do. Because art is a valuable tool in solitary confinement. It allows me to have something of a life.
Everyone for joining us tonight. We have a really dynamic program for you. We have Ray Dansby, who's currently on death row, and he will be interviewed. All right, at this point, I will turn it over to our hosts, Frank and Dr. McClerklin.
Mind management is a way to control one's mind. To do this, we need to be cautious about our thinking process and also need a high level of understanding and meditation as well. Understanding is wisdom. 80% of people are knowledgeable. Now check this out, while 20% are wise. You feel me? 80% are knowledgeable. We hold knowledge, but do we understand what that knowledge is producing? That's
and how,
where
and how to apply it. And how to
yes.
apply it.
And that's where the wisdom comes. Absolutely, Moriel.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So today our guest, artist Ray Dansby, a man that has not only transformed his life using art, but he's also learned the power of mind management as he copes with the extreme challenges of his circumstances. Imagine this, people, being in solitary confinement on death row for 30 years. Let that sink in.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
All right, let that sink in, because if you know anything about solitary confinement, you are confined to a room, which I do believe is 6 by 9, 6 feet by 9 feet. That is your life. So you have to deal with the mind needing to expand and do things outside of the confinement. And the challenges is really to manage that so that you don't lose your mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Moriel, I know you had another thing you wanted to say about mind management as far as how things are in our society today.
Well, I think it's, first of all, I want to thank you and Wanda for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this program tonight. I think the discussion around mind management is essential for the times we're living in. I mean, we certainly are facing circumstances that are beyond our control to a certain degree. And the tendency is for many of us, is to live from the outside in. And what I mean by that is that we allow our external circumstances to dictate our thoughts, our moods, our feelings. And so we're constantly feeling a sense of powerlessness. The alternative, which mind management allows us to do, is to live from the inside out. One of the things we learned from our elders a long time ago is that we may not always be able to control our circumstances, but we certainly can control how we respond to them. And in order to be able to control how we respond to our circumstances, then we have to be in control of ourselves. And that starts with being in control of our thoughts, because as a woman thinketh, so she is. So I think, this discussion, even though is on a Zoom with, maybe 20 or 30 people, but it's very timely. It's a discussion that needs to be played out, throughout the country, throughout the world, because if we're not in control of our mind in this moment in time we're in, then we're going to find ourselves facing depression and other debilitating thoughts and feelings trying to respond to this environment that COVID has produced for us. And so that's why I'm so glad to be a part of this discussion tonight. And I hope it doesn't end here, but I hope it's a good catalyst for us to continue to broaden this discussion.
Yes, absolutely. Because if we don't, then I don't know what the future may hold. And like you said, we have to learn to honor our power.
Yes.
We really need to respect that we are powerful beings. And the tools that are part of that power are your thoughts and feelings. And like Dr. McClerklin said, if it doesn't come from within, it's going to come from somewhere external.
That's true.
Is that source worthy of directing your power?
Yes.
Think about
there's
it.
There's a lot of attempts now with social media, the news, and all the things that the ability of society to put out messaging constantly to shape how we think. And so it's certainly more important than now with all of the propaganda and the mind manipulation and the fake news and false news, and it's going to be more important for us to decide for ourselves, how do we want to see the world? How do we want to think? How do we want to respond to our lives and the things we have to face every day? I mean, certainly, despite what we face, there's a range of possible choices. So how do we want to think in the midst of everything? And if I agree with you, if we don't, gain better mastery of our own thoughts and management of our own thoughts and mind, then we certainly will be much more of a victim to the onslaught of weaponry, information weaponry that's aimed at controlling how we think.
All right. Does anybody have anything they would like to contribute?
I did want to add something, if I could. Yeah, my name is Chris George. Yes, and what you're saying is so essential for kids in elementary, middle, and high school to hear, because that's where the social media is getting to their minds through social media and bullying and this really unfortunate way that kids interact as they're growing up. And so if we could teach them early on, it would be certainly helpful. And so, as you said, if this is not the beginning and it should not be the end, it would be great to bring this to the schools.
Yes, definitely. I mean, and that's where the challenge starts when we're young. Learning to live based upon our own views and our own values, and just not let somebody else's view of us dictate how we feel about ourselves. I mean, it's still a challenge for people to understand the power of asserting of the power of asserting your power over your own mind. I mean, it still hasn't really been fully embraced by us as a society. And I think that's why there's such an attempt to manipulate how we think, to make us buy what somebody else wants us to buy, or act in a way that somebody else wants us to act. And that's what Facebook was accused of, just gathering so much information on us until it can just push some impulses out to us and make us robots. So so again, we need to embrace an understanding of the power that comes from having power over our own minds. And that's really going to be the war of the next 20 years, because everybody is attempting those who are seeking to make lots of money has at their disposal all the tools to manipulate thinking. And so the real war is going to be our ability to resist those subtle and subliminal messaging, and really manage our thoughts, manage our minds. So I think, and especially it will start when we're very young. We're going to have to empower young people to be able to do that. I agree with you.
I think the major challenge, though, it is the extreme challenge, is that our minds are so cluttered with garbage, and the garbage comes from so much outside stimulation. And so we don't spend time in thinking or reflecting, because we always, this garbage is swirling around in our minds, and you have to make a conscious effort to tune it out. You have to, otherwise you just continue to go along and be swept along. And that's why in social media they always say, watch this, look at this, do this, watch this, because we are sheep and we follow. So until we take control, be still, listen, think, learn critical thinking processes, you're right, it's going to be really, really difficult. And I agree about teaching children, but who is teaching children? Some other people whose minds are way out there? No. It's
Yeah.
Thank you, Sophia. We have Ray on the line, and we get ready to start the interview. Thank you all for those that filled in and made comments. And we're going to start with Ray now. Kathy?
Yes.
To you. Hold on. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about Ray before we begin the interview?
I am the project director of the Prison Story Project, and we met Ray and 11 other writers back in 2016, just before the mass executions on death row in Arkansas. And Ray has been my dear friend since that time, and a writer for the Prison Story Project, and most recently an artist, but mostly just a dear friend. So Ray, can you hear what's going on here?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, can you guys hear Ray?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I'm turning it over to y'all.
Okay, Ray, first of all, thanks so much for sharing this moment with us. We're so excited to be able to share this time with you, hear from you, and ask questions and talk with you. So on behalf of all of us who are on this Zoom, thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me.
We've had it, I've had a chance to look at some of your art, and I'm sure certainly others on this Zoom has also. And, as a art lover, I know that art is a powerful mental tool, and creating art requires a lot of mental focus. So where did you get the power? How did you get the power in the environment you are in the circumstances you are in, to focus your mind to create the powerful art that you've been able to create?
Well, I really started out of necessity, brother, trying to get me some funds so I can take care of myself. I'm a 62-year-old man, and people have been taking care of me for the better part of 30 years. So I was talking with Kim Reams, and he told me about an art contest he was entering in New York City. And when I entered into it, I didn't have no expectation of winning anything, but I won second place and $350. So I told Kenneth, I guess I'm an artist now. That was three-dimensional art. I had never painted in my life. And so he encouraged me to take up painting. And when I took up painting, the first painting I did, I sold for $200.
Wow.
You know, I said, well, I guess I'm a painter now.
Wow.
Yeah, but we got the system down here won't allow us many supplies to work with, so we have limited supplies. And in fact, Kenneth, he did his art. He picked up paper wrappers off the floor and made his art out of that. And he told me to make art out of anything. And that's where I got it all started. But it doesn't come easy for me. So it requires a lot of mental focus. So
how do you, what's the biggest challenge in terms of your mental focus? And what do you do to overcome that challenge? I know that, you know, trying to create creation, they say all creation starts in the mind. I'm an author, so I write books. So all creation starts in the mind. So, you know, what's the biggest challenge, you know, getting your mind focused or in a state where you can envision what you're trying to create with your art?
Well, first I try to come up with whatever I'm gonna do. That's the first thing I do. That's my most difficult part. Is coming up with original ideas. And so I use what I call delve off into my subconscious. I lay down at night and then I just think about what I'm gonna do and what type of art I'm gonna do. Matter of fact, the last couple of pieces I did, I was laying in the bed, just meditating and trying to come up with ideas. And the first one I came up with, I think was a pretty good one, was one I call an hourglass. And I pictured myself in an hourglass, and I told Kenneth, I'm gonna do an hourglass paint. And when I done it, he saw it, he said that was pretty good. And so that's where I get all mine from. I had to sit down and meditate. I meditate 3 or 4 times a day because it's a lot of noise in this place. I got an MP4 player, and on there they got different types of meditative things you can use. They have the sounds of a waterfall, the sound of an ocean, sounds of an open prairie, just some sounds like that. I meditate like that for 15, 20 minutes, and then I put a dot on the wall, and I focus on that dot about 15 or 20 minutes to calm my nerve, because it rattles your nerve on a daily basis. And so then I get all the supplies and I set them to the side, and then I go from there.
I mean, that's powerful. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're talking, you know, the context from which, you know, we're having this discussion with you is the whole idea of mind management, because we understand that in the circumstances you face, you know, every day, you know, as you said, we know there are certainly strong levels of distraction. And so we know that it takes a lot to focus in the midst of all the challenges you're dealing with. How does your art helps you in terms of your mental state? How does you know, painting helps your mental state in prison?
Art in itself is a powerful, I guess the word I want to use is, you get catharsis from my art. And so, that's the first thing that helped me. But I've understood that it's a 3-part thing. It's a mind, body, and spirit. So first I had to get my body right, then I had to get my mind right, then I had to get my spirit right. And all 3 of those work together. And that's what helped me the most, because they put us under a lot of stress through all different types. Like when we get sick or anything like that, we have to pay a $3 copay just to go see the doctor. Wow. And then it takes you 7 to 10 days before you go see the doctor. So they put a lot of stress on your mind. And then I'm up in an 8x10 cell, and I'm a big person. So when I try to walk, try to get my body right, and try to get my mind right, I get dizzy because it only takes 2 or 3 steps. And so that's one of the things that I had to overcome because it does something to my mind. It makes me feel like an animal. So I have doing this. Yes, when I be pacing in my cell trying to get exercise in, it makes me feel like I'm a caged animal. So that messes with my mind. So I have a whole lot of trouble trying to do that. I force myself to do that so I can keep my body right. But in the end, it just does something to me, and I have trouble doing that. So I just sit back and put my headphones on, listen to music, and then zone out like that, and then start doing my art. But pretty hard thing with me is mind, body, and soul.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's significant. That's significant. When you produce your first artwork, you were sharing about that. I mean, what impact did that have on you in terms of how you conceptualize? How did you begin to think about what was possible moving forward, you know, in terms of dealing with the stresses every day? How did that impact you, seeing that first piece of work get some work recognition?
It did something to me. It encouraged me and it discouraged me because the way they got it set up down here, they set up everything, every type of obstacle possible to discourage us from doing art. There's a lot of guys down here who are far better artists than me, but what they do is the system oppresses them so hard that they just give up. Because if we make a small infraction, they'll take our art card from us for a whole year. And a lot of these guys, like myself, we've been here like 20, 30 years. We don't borrow time as it is. So those guys give up. But I try to encourage them, and I try to encourage myself to not give up, to fight, push forward. No matter what they're trying to do to you, you got to overcome it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, as I listen to you, I and certainly, and even on my own journey through life, I know that everybody who's faced what you face or who's facing what you face every day is not responding to it the way you've been able to respond to it. As you said, there's certainly people who get frustrated and overwhelmed and just simply succumb to the environment or to the circumstances. What allows you to be different, even though it's challenging, as you said, stressful, at times disheartening? What allows you to still be able to wake up every day and determine that you are not going to be destroyed by the circumstances, that you're going to stay spiritually and mentally alive and be a creator? What makes you different? What allows you to respond differently than some others have responded?
Because art is a valuable tool in solitary confinement. It allows me to have something of a life. It occupies my time and frees my mind. Doing art for the sake of doing art is not enough. I need to sell my art. I need to buy supplies. I need to support myself because I don't want to be a starving artist, starving to death in the belly of the whale. Art allows me to find beauty in negative spaces, and that's what encourages me to keep going. But I really need people to buy my art, and I need to continue to be doing my art so I can get better. That's my main goal, to get better as an artist. But the people who we try to sell our art to, they try to devalue our art. And then the system, all this stuff combined is discouraging. Because like when I first started and I needed to buy some supplies, It took like $300 to buy the supplies. And I was getting only like $50 a month in. And so I told Ken about the man, I can't buy no supplies. I'm going to buy some supplies for $50 a month. He said, save your money. I said, if I save my money, then I'm going to go hungry every night. And that's when we entered that art contest, and that $350 we got from Ken, I was able to buy my supplies. And then I told Ken about it. We're off and running now. And then he said, well, you need to do more than art. You need to write. And so I started writing. Kathy encouraged me with the writing when she came down, because I didn't consider myself a writer, just like I didn't consider myself an artist. But Kathy kept coming down, encouraging us to write. And then I wrote something to enter into a contest for Pen America. I don't know if you ever heard of that organization or not. They had a contest on where you can do art, you can do poetry, and you can do writing. And I entered that first contest, but they didn't accept my stuff. And that was discouraging. I told Ken said, no, you can't give up. You just got to keep on pushing through. And so I kept writing. And then the first thing I wrote that I thought was pretty good was my mother died in September the 14th of last year. And my sister, who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, she asked me to write something for the occasion. And I wrote something called Wings for Marie. And I told her about the Kim, I think that you're pretty good. And he read it and he said, yeah, man, that's pretty good. You ought to be able to do something with that. I told him, no, that's personal, man. I said, that's for my mother. If you still need to put it out there and let people see it. And then I started writing, continued to write. And I taught something, and I was reading a book. And that's when I come up with the thing about solitary confinement in the prison industrial complex. It took me like 5 or 6 drafts to write that thing, man. And it was difficult, but I think it turned out pretty good. I was so excited, I told Kathy about it. She told me to send it to her. And when I sent it to her, she told me it was pretty good. And I asked her, would she send it to Wanda best? And she did. And I was trying to get something done with it, because I'm trying to further my stuff, take care of myself. But art is what supplies me with all the valuable tools that I need to have something of a life in this place. I'm able to take care of myself, because the food is so bad that they allow us to spend $100 a week. Can you imagine that? They allow you to spend $100 a week because the food is so bad. But most inmates here can't afford $100 a week. It takes me about $150 to $100 a month to get by without me having to beg for food and go hungry. And all this stems where I get all this energy to do this stuff is when I lay down at night and I focus on my subconscious mind. That's where all my ideas come from. My creative processes and everything come from my subconscious mind. When I lay down at night, I dream and think of what I'm going to do. And it seems to come to me.
Ray, I have 2 questions that I would like to ask Ray. So I'm going to jump in here. Ray, so good to hear your voice. Haven't heard you in a while since we did the last exhibit. But my question is, art is a tool that communicates, educates, and express ideas, feelings, emotions. With your art, what message are you giving?
It's really difficult because, like I say, I'm really not an artist. I get my inspiration from other things, and I just want people to know that just because we are locked in solitary confinement doesn't mean we're less than human. And all of us down here have something to offer to the world, but we are being hindered from offering it to the world. And I want the world to know, I want the world to see my art, and I want to know that we are more than animals. We are more than the sum of our crimes. We are human beings.
And so where's some of the places, any art exhibits where your work has been shown?
Well, Kathy took some on the road with her, and I have some on a internet thing called Arkansas Arts Coalition. I got some work there, and I got some connected to my name when you Google my name and look up art. But I don't have much art out there. I got a lot of art out there, but it's not on the internet. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to find someone to set up me a Facebook page or a website or something so I can sell my art. Mm-hmm.
So Ray, would you say that finding the creativity and expressing it in art gave you a sense of purpose so that you wouldn't feel purposeless in your situation?
Life.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, because they don't allow us much of anything. And since this COVID done hit, we don't go outside anymore. Mm-hmm. We don't get visits anymore. We don't do anything anymore. We just lock down 24/7 in this cell. Mm. That's the reason they won't allow us to come up out our cells anymore.
Wow. So you really got to manage your mind in order to survive that type of situation.
Yes, because like I say, it makes you feel like an animal.
Yeah.
And like I told, I think Frank is that I've been in this place for 30 years. Mm. Think about that for a minute. I've been in an 8x10 cell for almost 30 years. Mm. If you kept an animal locked up for that long, people from all over the world would be trying to get me up behind it out of solitary confinement. Mm. And I can't think on that too long because every time I do, it brings tears to my eyes. They have me contemplating suicide. So I can't dwell on that there for too long. Mm. Yeah. I have to just hope for the best. But something needs to be done.
So you control your thoughts.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Ray, I've heard you mention people who've been supporters. Can you just speak to the value of having people who believe in you and provide support and assistance to you?
Yeah, because to be honest with you, it all started when Kathy first came down here. Mm-hmm. And I almost didn't go out there because it seemed like every person, every contact we had, it seemed like people was trying to take advantage of us. And so I almost didn't go out there. But at the last minute, I told myself, I said, sometimes opportunity comes and it knocks. You have to be willing to open the door. And so I got up, I went out there, and I think one of the first questions I asked Kathy was, I know what's in this here for you, but what's in it for us? Mm. And then she explained what they was trying to do to get us out of this cell and have us do stuff to make us feel human. And so I started going out there, and that's where it all started. My whole mindset changed. And I said, wow, man, there's people out there that do actually care for me. And then it's a church in Little Rock. It's a guy I've been communicating there for almost like 25 years. And he's been rock solid all the way with me. Every step of the way, he's been rock solid. And that makes me feel love. Mm. Because a lot of people here feel unloved. They even feel like they are being abandoned by God. So some of them have absolutely given up. But I refuse to give up. I told them, I told the people next to me, I'm going to fight to the end. And I had my death sentence part of my case overturned. But the state appealed it. And then they had the hearing a couple months ago. But at the same time, they can't give me the death penalty right back again. Mm. And so I got that hanging over my head. Wow. So I'm almost in limbo right now. I'm not dead and I'm not alive, but I feel more alive every time I do my art.
Yes.
That's great. Mm. That's great. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about the message in your art, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the letter you wrote about the whole prison experience. But in terms of your writing, you know, as a writer, writing is such a release for me. How much of a release is just being able to write about the things that are on your mind for you?
It takes me away from this place. I put my headphones on and listen to music, and I'm writing. I'm not here anymore. They come to my door to bring me my medication. They have to beat on the door to get my attention because in my mind I'm not here anymore. I'm someplace else doing my writing. Drinking me a cup of coffee, doing my writing.
How often do you write each day?
I write pretty regular. I just jot down thoughts on my mind. Okay. And I just jot down thoughts on my mind and just got paper everywhere. Just write down thoughts. Just like I did on this piece. Then if I think I want to put something together, I have to sit down and try to put something together. And that's difficult. Like the piece I wrote about the industrial complex, man, that thing's difficult. Because like I say, I'm not a writer. But I tried to put it together what I thought I could deal with. I think I did 3, 4 upload drafts. I'm not even sure.
I'm certain you did. Yeah. Well, you keep saying you say you're not an artist, but I saw your art, and your art certainly says you are. And you say you're not a writer, but I read the article you wrote. So I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say you are an artist and you are a writer. There's always room for us to continue to grow in our art. But I'm certainly one who's been impressed with what I've seen and what I've read of your work thus far. Is there something special you want to say to us? Especially those of us who are for the first time getting to know you and to understand what you're dealing with, and certainly open to seeing how we can help and be of support. Is there anything you would like to say to this team of people who were interested enough to get on this Zoom?
Yes, I want everybody to know we are more than the sum of our crime. And we need love to be shown to us. We are human, and we need to be out of solitary confinement some way. And it's a group of young guys down here who's locked up, maybe 18, 19 years old, who definitely deserve a second chance. I was having a conversation with the guy the other day, and somehow I got on to rabbits. And this man, he was locked up when he was 18. And he's like 40, 41 years old now, but he's been locked up for a minute. And don't you know that guy didn't know that a rabbit didn't lay eggs? A rabbit lays eggs. And it was a guy told him, hold up, man. He said, hold up, I got the rag for a few minutes before y'all come carry on the conversation. And the guy who said this, he was 19 when he got locked up. And I told him, he don't have room to laugh because he just found out that a pickle and a cucumber come from the same thing. And so those guys really need a second chance because they good human beings. I think about half the people on death row are good human beings. They just caught up in the system and overzealous prosecutors giving them the death penalty because they could. Most of the time, this stuff is political. And so I just want everybody to know there's a lot of people down here that need second chance. 1 minute left. And a lot of people down here need help. So I'm going to have to hang up and call you back because they got 1 minute left.
Sure,
right,
thank
Ray.
you.
When you come back, we're going to talk about the essay. And while we're waiting, I'm going to show some of your art.
Ray?
Yes.
Okay. That essay that you wrote was very insightful and profound. And you really shed light on the criminal justice system better than any TV show or whatever could have ever done. What inspired you to write it?
It really just started for me jotting down my thoughts. Every time I see something that I didn't like, heard something that I didn't like, I just jot down my thoughts. And so I have 1,000 pieces of paper almost, and I had to just made up my mind that I was going to write something on the criminal justice system. Because, to be honest with you, the 13th Amendment is what really gets to me. It seems like they free us, but in reality, they didn't. Because the 13th Amendment, it just does something to me. Because it's saying we're free except for punishment for a crime. And they use that as an excuse to lock us up. Take away our voting rights, take away where we can live, take away our gun rights, take away all our rights just for little or nothing. And then when you're incarcerated, I see these young black guys out here on the floor mopping every day. They have and it's a racial tone to it because they have the young black guys mopping and they have the white guys on maintenance, doing plumbing, learning a trade, doing electricity, learning a trade. But then all the black guys are just mopping the floors. I say, so I asked them, I said, why is no black guys on the maintenance? And they don't have an answer for me. And all of this stuff that I'm seeing has a racial tone to it, and it always come back to that 13th Amendment. And in my mind, I figured if you can get that phrase taken out of the 13th Amendment saying except for the punishment of a crime, they won't have any reason to lock us up. Because when they lock us up, they would have to pay us. And if they have to pay us, you can bet your bottom dollars they're going to lock up less free people. And so, and my thing is, should no slavery be in existence in the United States under any circumstance? That was my main motivation for writing that thing.
Let me read what the 13th Amendment says so people understand the context. It says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to the jurisdiction. I think most people, Ray, are not aware of that exception in the 13th Amendment. You know, that slavery was allowed in the case of punishment for a crime. And that's where the penal system comes in. And that's what you're referring to when you talk about the 13th Amendment.
Yes, there was a whole premise of reason I started writing. And then I try to come up with some type of solution because I don't really like to talk about things unless you put forth a solution. And most of the time it's a solution from two different ends. You have to have a political end and you have to have a social justice end working together to change this whole apparatus.
Ray, what are some of your suggestions for change in the system?
First of all, I like to say it's a sin and a sentence. They call it crime and punishment. I like to say sin and a sentence. The crimes we be committing, most of them are sins. I can say, do not steal, do not kill, do not covet your neighbor's stuff. Those are sins. And when you commit them, they're called crimes. And they sentence you to prison, but they call it punishment. And I think if you have a social justice issue of it, like when you're talking to young kids, you teach them about what they're doing is committing sin. You tell them about the sentence, what their sentence gonna be. And that way you can, if the young kid know he do a robbery, he's gonna get 30 years beforehand. He only find out he's gonna get 30 years after he's convicted of the crime, been charged and everything. If he knows how much time he's gonna get before he commit that crime, then he's less likely to commit that crime. So whenever they get these young kids justice system, that should be one of the biggest parts outside just regular education, to connect with those guys. Let them know you commit this crime, you're going to do a whole lot of time. They're going to take away this, they're going to take away that, and your whole life is going to be ruined. And on the political side of things, they have to go back and look at all the laws that are on books in each one of these jurisdictions and try to change some of those laws, because some of them are outdated. Then we need to look to the European system of how they issue out time, because I guarantee you, no one gonna be on in solitary confinement for 30 years, no matter what he done. So we got to look to the European system of justice, because they've been in existence long before we've been in existence. They got like a 500-year head start on us, and so they worked all this stuff out. But we won't do any of that stuff because the people in the South are too busy to still fight the Civil War. So they won't allow you to do anything that's going to help keep people out of prison, because most of them got money tied up into the industrial prison complex. Like what's the guy named the Vice President Dick Cheney? They got money invested in the prison industrial complex. So they need people to be locked up for them to make money. We need to approach it from a standpoint to go back and check all the laws and get rid of the ones that really doesn't make any sense. Let's start. But it's a lot more people, a lot smarter than I am. They just got to come together to figure out the best solution to it.
Ray, I don't know how often you get a chance to talk to some of the younger people who are incarcerated with you. Are you able to, do any mentoring with those who've been in there for a long time, based on the insights you've gained and your ability to manage your mind? Have you been able to, provide some guidance to some of the younger brothers who are there?
They have to be in the cell next to me.
Okay.
I communicate with them any other way. They don't want the officers to pass anything. You can be hungry. They don't want you to pass a ramen noodle from one cell to the next. And they don't want you shouting too loud. But they got a group of people in here that's not on death row. They're in it for segregation punishment. But they be loud 24/7. And so to communicate some real serious stuff, you have to holler it out over the cheer. Then you got a group of people that seem like they just hostile to anything that's trying to be positive in this place. So you really can't holler that stuff out. You have to be next to a person in the cell next to them to talk to them through the vent. And you can communicate almost like a private session then. No, we don't have opportunities for that. When they take us out of our cell to go out there to exercise, they just put us in a larger box by ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, we never get a chance to have any type of physical contact with anyone. When they come and take us out of our cells, they handcuff us behind our back. They put leg irons on us, and two officers grab us by each arm and escort us to wherever we're gonna go.
Wow.
As we wrap up, what can we expect next in terms of your art and in terms of your writing? What can we expect next from you?
I think I'm gonna do some landscapes. I saw a group of landscapes in a magazine. It's about 25 of them. I'm gonna try to do them sometime at the end of the month. I'm still recuperating from my mother's death. That threw me lost. Because like I said, she was sending me $50 a month. I'm no longer getting that.
Are there any questions for Ray from the audience?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Ray. First of all, I want to say I'm very sorry for the loss of your mom. And I want you to know that there are people out here that do feel very deeply for your situation, care about your situation, and send love to you. I just want to say that first. A question I have is, how many of the inmates did the Prison Story Project interact with? Was it voluntary? Like you said, you had hesitated, you didn't know if you were going to get involved, then you did, and it happened to be one of the best things you've done.
Yeah, it was voluntary. She sent a notice to all of us. So we had an opportunity to read the notice, and I think it was like a booklet. We had to read what they was all about and made up our mind to go. It's one guy that I tried to get to go out there over and over again. This is a 19-year-old guy, because he's a poet, he's an artist, he got stuff published, but he just didn't go out there. And I told him it's a grand opportunity. And I'm telling him about sometimes opportunity knocks. You have to open the door. And that's what I did. I had to stop saying no to things. And that was one of the best things that ever happened to my life. Okay.
Ray, knowing what you know now from your experiences, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself?
First of all, I have to be honest with myself. And I have to realize what true love is. I didn't know what love was. I thought I knew, but I didn't know. And that was my biggest thing. I thought love was one thing, come to find out it was another. I learned that from the people that I have met since I've been on death row. Like Captain McGregor and this preacher that visits me and in constant contact with me. They showed me what real love looked like. So I would have to, my younger self, what I think love is, it's not.
Okay.
It's the main thing I would have told myself.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Ray. That's deep.
This has been a powerful moment. It's been, for me, it's been transformative. Just hearing you share, just the depth of your insights, and just to see how you are responding, to your circumstances, even though, certainly they are inhumane, as you have described them. It's clearly inhumane. But to see you still doing what you can do to not succumb to it and go into suicide or whatever succumbing looks like for us, I think it's the most, is so deeply powerful and transformative and impressive. And I really appreciate it, you sharing that with us. We can, a lot of times we take little things for granted. And, to hear someone who's going through what you're going through and still determined to get up every day, to take time to meditate, to take whatever space is given to you to create, to write, to paint, it's powerful. And, I'll certainly, whatever ways that I can be of support, I certainly lend myself to that, to be able to do that. And I think many others who've been on this Zoom and have heard you will do the same. So just for me, I want to say thank you so much. I'm deeply grateful for this chance to have this conversation with you.
Thank you all for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
One thing I've gotten out of art, it's a unique way for me to connect with people now I wouldn't otherwise meet. So that's one of the things I'm getting out of art. But before I go, I wanna say this here before I go. You can contact me through email at raydansby925@gmail.com. Or you can write me snail mail at raydansby SK 925, PO Box 400, Grady, Arkansas 71730. If you'd like to make a donation, you can do it through Kathy McGregor and Prison Story Project. And if you want to purchase some art, you can do it through Kathy McGregor. And we'll just let her know what type of art you want, and we'll work it out.
Thank you. We pray the best, that we pray for your strength. We pray for your continued endurance. We pray for your mental focus to continue. And we pray that God will continue to send you love.
Thank you for that.
Ray, we will be in touch with you because we're doing our social justice art exhibit. And so I will be reaching out to you and Kathy to get some of your artwork in it. It will be virtual because of, the COVID thing. It really shut us down from going into the galleries and doing our art shows. But it's just as amazing to do them virtual to show the good artwork that comes out of the prisons, as well as with up and coming and local artists. So we will be back in touch with you to let you know when that'll happen.
All right, then. I want to thank you all for having me on. I hope I didn't disappoint.
Not at all. Not at all. You are a model of mind management, Ray.
Yes, absolutely.
You are a model of mind management. I learned so much listening to you, bro. And you changed my life.
Yeah.
You changed my life. Thank you.
So let's I know he can't see us, but Kathy can see us. Let's show him some love. Kathy, let him know we're showing him some love.
I sure will.
Thank you so much. It was unbelievable to have someone under those circumstances to continue to create art, and that is definitely mind management. Thank you, Ray.
All right, then.
All right.
Thanks, Uncle Ray. Love you.
Bye.
All right. Thank you all. Art is a valuable tool in solitary confinement. It allows me to have something of a life. One thing I've gotten out of art, it's a unique way for me to connect with people